Thanks everyone for coming and for waiting a little bit for us to get started. We're just gonna start, we're just gonna start by addressing some of the flag that you see here. It usually goes the other way, so just when I'm talking about it, maybe tilt your head or something. So we want to start by explaining the backdrop. We have this flag behind us here as kind of a physical presence of a larger historical context that we're here today in, and that is the backdrop of the Canadian context of colonialism. This flag is a representation of the first and founding agreement made between the Okwehonwe peoples and what is now Canada. It's called the Two-Row Wampum, and this accord establishes the basis of all other negotiations, agreements, etc. A relationship between two nations on equal ground. And so we've made this up, a physical presence here to remind us basically that this is the basis of the relationship between Okwehonwe and Indigenous people and us who are here. The Two-Row Wampum belt shows two lines, and like I said, normally they're going this other way. And the two lines signify or are a visual representation for two vessels or two canoes that are traveling down the river together. And as they're traveling down that river together, they're equally. They can be going in the same direction, but one does not go into the other person's canoe to steer their canoe. That was sort of the agreement around it. Was they're there equally as a nation-to-nation agreement, and they do not interfere with each other's affairs. So I think for us here, we're also representing that as well, like as people who are holding up that agreement as the backdrop to this struggle and to many struggles with the land that we see are happening all around us. So just as a welcoming and sort of as a contextual basis, the Two-Row Wampum is here as a reminder for us, and I think that also represents why we're here today and some of the larger issues that this fits into.
So the city is claiming victory on their website, saying that they have been working with the MNR all along, and that they're really glad that this injunction occurred, and that they've been given this opportunity to work further with the MNR. So in order to debunk that, I think I have to give you a little bit of context. So this is the proposed Hanlon Creek Business Park development. There's been opposition to it for several years. In 2006, it was brought to the Ontario Municipal Board, and out of that came a list of 75 conditions that the city had to adhere to. One of those conditions was that the developer, which is the city of Guelph, shall adjust all items and recommendations expressed in the Environmental Advisory Committee, the EAC. So that was in 2006. In 2009, there was an EAC meeting on April 8th, and what came out of the EAC meeting was a list of 17 recommendations, one of which was that the confirmation of the presence or absence of the Jefferson Salamander is provided, and if confirmed, appropriate conservation measures consistent with the Endangered Species Act 2007 and the recovery strategy must be provided in consultation with the MNR. So that was on April 8th. Then the city contracted NRSI, which is Natural Resource Solutions Incorporated, which is a private environmental assessment company, to come out and search for the Jefferson Salamander. They found a dead hybrid Jefferson Salamander. In response to this, the city sent out a press release in which they stated that while that salamander is a hybrid Jefferson, a pure Jefferson salamander sperm donor is present in the area. And Mayor Karen Farbridge went on to explain how she would work in consultation with MNR. So, yeah, the city found and the city said that there was a pure Jefferson salamander somewhere in the area. So, that's that. Then, on May 25th, the MNR sent a first letter to the city in response to proposed development of Road A and Culvert A. And in this letter, the MNR, the Ministry of Natural Resources, said that the ministry recommends that the development of Road A be deferred until the implications of the ESA are evaluated. The ESA is the Endangered Species Act. So that was on May 25th. On June 22nd, so a little bit after this, the city had already opened and closed the bids and tenders process for the construction that was going to happen here. So the construction was awarded to Jefferson Construction. So this was on June 22nd. That same day, NRSI had released a report to the city saying, we think, that, and remember NRSI is that private hired consultants of the city, saying we think that because we only found one dead hybrid Jefferson Salamander, that it's okay to go through with this development. On July 31st, the MNR, that the city has been saying that they want to work with, on July 31st, the MNR sent another letter to the city saying that the ministry is not in a position to support the continued construction of municipal services for Phase 1 and 2 of the HCBP in the absence of complete information regarding the extent of the Jefferson Salamander habitat. So this was on July 31st. This was after people, a bunch of, like 60 protesters had come out onto this area realizing that the city had gone through with the development that they saw as being illegal and unjust. So, yes. I'm kind of getting very anxious.
Anything else you want to say?
Yeah. Do you want to take it over now?
Okay. So I just want to make really, really clear that this whole time the city has been saying they're in consultation with the MNR and they'll work with them. Even by the time they were taking us to court, pursuing an injunction against us and threats of a $5 million lawsuit, even while they were in court that morning, they already knew that up until that day, the MNR was saying, do not go ahead with this development. It never should have happened, nor should it continue. But they're still taking us to court for trying to stop this development that the city never should have done in the first place. Further to that, we took Ian Hagman, the district manager of the MNR, to the stand on last Monday in court, and he repeated the same position. He reiterated that the MNR's position is still the same. This development should never have begun, nor should it continue. Yet the whole time, the city on their website and the press releases is saying, we've been working in consultation with the MNR, and it's all fine and dandy. The only reason they can say that is because up until today, the MNR has had no legal authority to stop this development from continuing because of some draft regulations in the process of getting approved. So in light of that, technically the MNR has no legal authority until today to stop the city. So it's really up to us to do that ourselves. And today, as you probably heard, an injunction was kind of just a decision about the injunctions were handed down by Justice Gray regarding the city's injunction to try to force us off of this land, and regarding our own injunction to force the city off of this land and to stop work. And Justice Gray handed down the decision basically granting both injunctions, saying yes, people who are quote-unquote, trespassing on this land should leave or must leave this land or will be taken off by police, but also concurrently to that, the judge has granted the MNR, or in fact, Donna Cansfield, the Minister of the Natural Resources, the top person in the MNR, he has granted her the ultimate authority in this case and given the MNR the legal authority to issue a work stoppage if they deem fit. So, it's a very strange situation. We have mixed feelings about it, but ultimately we're going to be ensuring pressure on the MNR to make sure that this work does not continue. And just like a quick thing is that many people get focused on the salamander, but it's about so much more than that. And this development is really just one small part of a much bigger ecosystem. And we really encourage people to stop identifying where we live with the name of the city or the street where we live on, but more with the watershed and the bioregion and the ecosystem we live with. Because everything downstream of us is at risk of pollution from any development that happens here. Anyone downwind of us is at risk of getting polluted by any development that happens here. And if we keep approving development after development after development, it's death by 1,000 cuts to a very complex ecosystem that we all need. And especially in light of the global environmental situation with extremely dire climate change predictions being realized by every climate scientist around the world, that we are in a very serious time, and the time for business as usual is over. And really the responsibility ultimately we see cannot be entrusted to the city or to the courts or to the MNR or to the police, but ultimately the responsibility to protect this earth relies on us. And we've seen that this is one example of a successful direct action that has been successful so far and is just the beginning of many, many more, and just an ongoing struggle to protect this land. And that's kind of more of a broader perspective of where we're coming from.